When you've got students, school kids, they get up to all kinds of antics. And the kind of things that they flush down the toilet cause problems. And that blocks the sewage pipes. And along the front of the house, that can be horrendous. So all of a sudden you get seepage on the covers, and you know you've got a problem. It didn't happen a lot, but when that does happen, you have to take the lids off. I remember we taking it off on the far left-hand side once, and we're having to keep flushing and flushing. And you get things like toothpaste tubes come flushing down. And because we've got our own, Dunfield's got its own sewage plant, it doesn't do it very good to have stuff like that coming down. And you get Coke cans come down, so all kinds of things happen. But I remember we'd got the Association for Jewish Youth in at Christmas, and this was Christmas Day, and we'd got problems with it. And it wasn't with that group, I think it had happened before, and we saw it seeping on the front, so we ended up having to get it sorted. I said to Matthew come to me, and he said, "Do you want on, Dad?" I said, "Rush and get me the keys from under the thing." So he rushed and get it, and I got the keys in, and I pulled it, and it just exploded. And Matthew said, "What do you want me to do, Dad?" And I said, "Just run to your mother and tell her to run me a bath quick." So you can imagine.
I think one of the challenges was when we first moved to Dunfield, our boys had never known Christmas at home. It was always at church doing the lunch and the tea. So the first Christmas, well, we sat and looked at each other, didn't we? We just didn't know what to do. And it took quite a few years to establish. So when the Jewish group came in, it sort of brought Dunfield to life. But I always remember, and we can laugh about it now, snowing, blocked kitchen sink, Fred and Matthew down underneath the slabs, and me and Ben with big umbrellas because it was chucking it down with snow. So you sort of think, this is a different Christmas day, but we can laugh about it now.
And you have to deal with things like lightning when it struck us once and it knocked all the power out. We've got children in the house. It was out from 1 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock the next morning. It blew up the biggest sequoia dendron tree that we had in the grounds. So, it can be challenging at times. People always look at me and say, "Fred the chef." And they say, "Do you like cooking?" No, I don't. I didn't like cooking in the end. I didn't like cooking. And they said, "But why do you cook?" I've done buffets for 350 people. And I said, "I do it because I like to see the look on people's faces. I like to do things so people enjoy it." So for me, I think the biggest thing about Dunfield is I loved it to go from an empty building to people filling it. So I'd love nothing more than walking out of this empty building, out the front door, and welcoming the next group in. I can't explain how that felt to go up and shake hands with the group that come in or the people that were coming through the door. It was a great privilege to be able to say hello to people that you considered your friends, and they consider you their friend.
In a way, we're only looking after Dunfield. You know, it was a service in some ways that we was given. It's just difficult to explain. And again, it's that feeling that you got when you'd done something. So if you'd had reunion for a week, although you was exhausted, you had still got that feeling that you'd done the best you could. And, you know, even if a small group came in, like women's, there was just something about it. I'd like to see Dunfield thrive. I'd like to see that they were getting the people that they need for Dunfield to continue. And that, you know, it's not just about giving a service like any hotel you was going to. It's about, you know, spreading the peace to people.